you guys know, yesterday we made a video where World War III was shown on the map. In today's video, we'll go into the fighting, but we'll start where the conflict actually started, with the fall of Taiwan, which is one of the biggest producers of microchips. So this is a big loss for the US. A major loss. It is a major loss for Taiwan and its allies. This isn't even small, with North Korea quickly invading South Korea. But as we know in real life, North Korea is strong but weak, if that makes any sense. They're weak, but they are strong. Yep, that doesn't make sense, does it? Today is probably not going to be the last video, just because I don't want to make a 30-minute video, and then you guys are like, ugh, and get up in 5 minutes. So yeah. And so, South Korea being established a front like this. And by Vietnam, a front is established in the north. With not much being done in the north of Vietnam, except a tiny invasion. With Pakistan having successfully... An invasion has taken place in Kashmir by Pakistan. And here, the Khalistan revolts. Decides to revolt. And yeah. And with Kashmir falling, and they're being right on the border of Delhi. So India has to make a small counter-offensive over here. And they push the forces back. They managed to make a small offensive into Myanmar. Which is great, but not really that good. With Myanmar collapsing, and Vietnam, along with Thailand, taking out Cambodia and a big chunk of Laos. China struggling to invade Vietnam due to the terrain and geography and such on. And so, where should we go to the fighting now? Well... That's a good question. Let's go to North America and see what happens within the first week of, North American fighting. Well, the first thing that happened is Cuba's invaded again, despite the fact why some part of their island on the blue team, nobody knows. They make a landing here, and it's a big, major defeat for the East in North America. With the beginning of the invasion of Peru and South America by Colombia and Ecuador, along with a Brazilian offensive, but these are slow due to terrain and such on. With Chile just extending up the coast, because that's what they do. Argentina moves into Bolivia. Brazil moves into Bolivia, and so on. As we can see, this is not the video with the peace treaty. Peace treaty will have the end of the war, but North America is going to fall. With Venezuela falling quickly because they are not stable, I guess, or something. Now let's go to Europe. Well, Russia somehow manages to take the Baltics out. Let's draw where they occupy. And yeah, let's say they manage to get to here because the North American is being stretched a bit thin. Everyone's being stretched across. And with the Baltics falling. And yeah. Everybody expects that. But with Poland basically saying no. With Poland starting its own offensive. With this counter-offensive being really good. And then they start an offensive. It allows Poland, along with Ukraine, to take a big chunk of Belarus. Which Russia's trying to get enough strength to move that back. With the fall of Vojvodina and southern... Yeah, let's just say Serbia fell because they were fully surrounded. They had no chance, really. And with Israel finally managing to move back, Palestine. And this area wasn't ready for all of these offensives. As it turns out, yeah, Iran isn't really good at fighting. with the coast of Syria falling, which has made it really hard, and a blockade is set up by the Americans in the Strait of Hormuz. And somehow part of Yemen is on the blue team. Yeah. With the fall of Yemen being no surprise to anyone, really. With Ethiopia at first having a good offensive. Well, Sudan being Sudan, you know. But this is where Morocco and Algeria figure it out. With Spanish, French, and Italian, and American troops being in Morocco now. Because there's not many Americans fighting in South America now. Only a few because they think Argentina and Brazil can manage to do it. With Morocco managing to take a nice offensive, but this is because there's also a Tunisian offensive. With the offensive really being about the coast. The fall of Algiers happening, and yeah. With Morocco finally taking back Western Sahara. And ECOWAS manages to make its offensive into Niger, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. And Mali. Mali's just there. With Nigeria being a really strong nation, with American support, they managed to succeed in this. With Egypt starting its Libyan offensive and its Sudanese offensive. These are only small as Egypt is trying to keep itself strong. The strongest country in Africa. And Ethiopia in the south is invaded, but it looks like Burkina Faso is going to fall. With a meet-up with Moroccan forces. But Algerian forces have still high numbers as they all just basically retreated. So yeah, they make an offensive, a counter-offensive in the north. But they're like, Africa's front isn't that great because all the stronger African nations are like against all the weaker ones. With Russia somehow even managing to move further into Ukraine. Somehow it turns out their army is all back to normal. Wait, what? With them making a huge offensive into Turkey, which Iraq and Iran and parts of Syria that's left do. But Pakistan manages to start its next offensive into India, which is a shock that India is actually not performing as well as you would expect. They're also fighting a two-front war. With them in Thailand deciding it's time to take Myanmar out. With China deciding it's time to kick South Korea out, because they don't want South Korea to have a border with them. But Japan's like, yeah, you think you can beat us by doing this small offensive, mocking the Chinese government, getting a -3 billion social credit score. Well, I guess all the blue team would have a bad social credit score if this was real. Good thing it's not, because I don't want a bad social credit score. Oh wait, I probably already do. Get it? No, you don't get it. But, as we can tell, the blue team's stronger than the red team. But let's see how Brazil's offensive in Chile's and Colombia's and Ecuador's goes. Ooh, this is massive. But, just keep in mind, Bolivia surrenders as there's no point in fighting left, and so is Peru. With the Tigray region deciding a revolt is okay and doing a lot of stuff. They revolt again, and this time they're a success because they're supported by the West. But when the West supports you, there's nothing you can do wrong. Well, there still is. With Somaliland deciding they won't revolt against the Somali government right now if the Somali government guarantees them to have independence after the war, and they say they'll send all their rebel forces to the front line, which Somalia agrees with. Ethiopia has collapsed, but they refuse to sign a peace treaty. Indonesia is just chilling. These parts of Africa just don't know what they want to do. But with the Libya offensive, meaning all of the people are taken, they move into Fezzan because they can. And with most of the countries in Africa that are on the red team being weak, as we know, Sudan, and then Darfur decides to revolt, bad borders, but yeah. With Azawad declaring independence and fighting against the red team, which is a big news. They're going to get their independence from this, with many things being not as it seems. With Algeria being invaded in the desert, it seems like there's no chance that Africa can make it. With South America finally arriving to the front, this manages to happen. With the Asian front being dominated by China and the European by Russia, seems like they're really only fighting in two continents now, as they've been wiped out of big areas of land. With an invasion of India and Bangladesh happening again. And then the fall of Thailand, basically. They take the capital city and Thailand is forced to capitulate. Over. With Vietnam still managing to hold on because, like, they're just being Vietnam. So, like, it's impossible to invade Vietnam. And, yeah. With the Philippines being China's goal now to take domination over here. And Indonesia just stays neutral. For some reason. I'd say they would join the blue team. I think. They might join the red team, but it's really not sure. With Russia managing to conscript 25 million people. Yep, ask me how they conscripted that many, because they just did. Because Russia does what it wants. And they send 3 million to Finland. They take out all the coast of Finland. And then Finland's like, really? You thought that was possible, Russia? With Finland going and pulling an Uno reverse card. Why am I using an Uno reverse card? Because I can do what I want, because I'm the mapper of this video. And yeah. But that's probably the last of Russia's offensives. With World War III seeming at this point like it was fully in favor of the blue team. But let's give the favor to the red team for a minute. With Russia managing to establish air supremacy all the way to most of Poland, most of Czechia, but not all. They managed to invade Hungary because for some reason Hungary doesn't resist this. But yeah, let's see. With everybody being surprised with how Russia got 35 million troops, people to conscript in their army. Now then they realize that these aren't well trained and they're like, what is going on? With the Americans establishing a no-fly zone over most of Eastern Europe, with air domination being taken from the Russians, they still managed to hold on. But Ukraine starts revolting for some reason. Yes, I guess this is a lot of rebellions. With the people of Iran being like, Iran, what's going on? Why are you letting us... Why are you still oppressing us? And Iran's like, what's going on? With the Iranian People's Republic revolting, because there's now going to be a communist revolt. But really, it turns out this is just a democratic revolt hidden under communism. Yep. I bet you saw that coming. People decide to revolt, and now Russia's foothold in the Caucasus has been lost. Because they got Iran to hold on to this. But Iran decided they couldn't fight anymore. With an established front line, with Iran being overthrown, and this new government decides peace with the West is their best choice. To which they allow Western troops in, and they declare war on the red team. And then, well, with that, India's ready for their offensive. And everybody's offensive into Central Asia is about to start. With Afghanistan just being like, yeah, there's no point in fighting. We know that, yeah. With some Central Asian republics, like Uzbekistan declaring no need to be in the war. Kazakhstan eventually, and all the pro-Russian states basically just left the war. That's just a big blow. With a Xinjiang revolt happening. And so, yeah. But China manages to put this revolt down. As the war starts heading into more and more of a stalemate. with Russia pushing them back into some areas. Eventually, it just becomes like this. I mean, yeah. We will go through the peace treaty in the next video, but I don't know if I should just finish it in this video. And so, yeah. With Japan retaking Sakhalin, and American forces landing in Vietnam because they can, the Filipino invasion works as planned. And they now establish a link between the South China Sea, and they're now starting to blockade the Chinese. And as they land in Taiwan, they manage to re-push into South Korea. India manages to kick China fully out of their territory. And yeah, and Thailand does the same thing in Vietnam. The red team's collapse is inevitable, with countries such as Mongolia leaving the war. North Korea won't surrender, but let's just be like North Korea. And then the Tibetans and Xinjiang both decide to revolt at the same time. With Mongolia being like, if I switch sides, I can get some lands out of this, including Inner Mongolia and Tannu-Tuva. Because they want it, for some reason. Yep. And they're offered millions of dollars in rebuilding by the U.S. And lands. They don't say no to the offer, because they can't. It's too good to be good. With the fall of Laos and the fall of Myanmar, although China manages at this point to just hold everything back because they have so many people, but they don't have good technology. But at this point, the fall of Russia's front in Europe happens. With the Caucasus in Europe being kicked out and Crimea, so they're basically kicked right out of Eastern Europe. And Russia says, we won't surrender. They say never surrender. With the fall of Kaliningrad, Belarus. And at this point, they're unable to counter-offense because of all the losses they've taken, with Volgograd being taken. They're in a full-on defense mode. With the encirclement of Leningrad and the fall of Leningrad. Oh, oops. I mean St. Petersburg. Why would I say Leningrad? Who even knows? I guess Lenin is back. Who knows? With Russia becoming like Russia. With Canada basically like, yeah. And so the capital is taken. And so it does apparently show that this is big, but China's more likely going to fall first. You know why, guys? Because, well, they're more so being invaded. Russia's just at the point where there's nothing they can do, so they just start invading China's coast. With all of China's capabilities being drastically weakened, but like, yeah, the fall of China, then the fall of Russia happens, and so on. That's all for today's video. Tune in to the next video of World War III, where we see the peace treaty, where the world is fixed. But we will see the new borders, and they will be great. That's all for today's video. Please like and subscribe so we can get to 1250 subscribers and have our next subscriber special, which will be me making a live stream of you guys fixing the borders for me. Let's see how it works. And is my drawing that great? Who knows? But bye, guys! See you in the next video. Wild Mapper out.